Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode, we went on a journey to the North Pole, and Jeb fell out of the plane and broke his arm, so he's on a temporary leave of getting, well, yeah, he's just in the hospital. Probably in here, actually, getting some Z's, playing some, I guess playing some pool would be kind of hard to do. I don't know if you've noticed, but they do have a pool table in here. I just can't move anything around to actually show you guys that. But there is a pool table right behind Lufrod. Anyway. We're not actually going to be hiring any more people right now. We have plenty of people that have to get into space yet, but we're not going to be sending any people into space this time. No, we actually are going to be setting up a communications network, which is going to involve 3 satellites orbiting Kerbin at all times to allow us to communicate. So, I have made a vessel called the Comsat vessel, and I think this will be able to get to the Kerbo stationary orbit level, and it's got 3 satellites right here, which we actually are not going to be detaching them ourselves. I do need to move this down. Now, these are going to go up here, out of the way for us to be able to actually activate the decouplers. There we go. So last episode you might have noticed that we had a red line, or something like that, going back to the command center. And this is because of the mod I have installed, which makes it so you have to have a line of communication to the command center in order to be able to transmit data. Now I do love that idea of having to actually be able to communicate to command, because as Kerbal Space Program is right now, you can just plop down on any planet you want and transmit data until you go blue in the face. I'm not sure why you're going to go blue in the face, but you can transmit until you do. Oh, I noticed that we have a slight problem there. Abort the flight, revert to the VAB. I forgot to add some struts on these so they do not jiggle around. There we go. Now it's much better. Okay. Save and launch. Now this is a completely unmanned mission. And I apologize if you hear me coughing. Oh, I screwed it up again. I forgot to do symmetry. It would kind of help me attach all the things together if I did it symmetrically, wouldn't it? Yes, I'm sure it would. Alright, save and launch. Is there any more tiny problems I'm going to cause myself before we actually launch this darn thing? No? Everything looks good? Everything looks good. It's a little bit wobbly because the only things that are holding the rocket in place are these, but it should be fine. Let's switch over to map view, which is going to cause a small amount of lag like it usually does when I first do it on a launch. There we go. I just want to make sure this is in position. Alright. So, 3, 2, 1, let's go. And I have absolutely no control over anything. Somehow... oh boy. This isn't good. Somehow I do not have any connection to command, even though we are right here. I think I'm going to have to put a small antenna on this thing, but let's let it play out. I've just created a very expensive missile that is currently launching towards the ground at high velocity. It's very weird that the rockets didn't actually stay full throttle. I set it at a throttle. You'd think they would just lock it at throttle even if there's no link to command. Anyway. Back to the Space Center. Oh boy. Things are not going well at the start of this episode. Okay, so let's modify this thing a little bit. I haven't really done any unmanned missions yet, especially with this mod, so just getting used to it. Or do I need this reflectron? I might actually need the reflectron in order to actually have it communicate. Let's try with this communitron, and we'll see if that is enough to... Okay, so every one of these has a communitron. Save. Launch. If this doesn't work, then I need to get some more science before I can actually get any of this data used. Before I can actually use a satellite. That's what I mean. Okay, activate. Now, will you allow us to communicate with the command center? We are able to control it? Okay, I believe that worked. So as long as we have an antenna on here of some sort, we can communicate to the command center. That is good. That's very good. And we actually can have these on a lower throttle. Oh, we have gone out of range, it looks like. Oh boy. No, that's not good. That is a pretty poor range on these things, honestly. Switch over. Or maybe the ship itself is causing problems. I do not know what's going on with this thing. But we have absolutely no connection to command center at all. KSP. KSC. Whatever you want to call it. And oh, it actually broke off. Aha, that would indicate a slight problem, wouldn't it? Well, I'm gonna just revert, because I do not care about keeping this. This is much more complicated than I was anticipating. So having that extended during flight is not that great. Which has me a little bit concerned about our abilities to launch a satellite right now. Because if we can't communicate with... I'm curious. What if instead of an unmanned mission, I sent up a Kerbal to do all this stuff? Crew we're going to use. Where's Bob? Anyone seen Bob? He's disappeared. We're going to use Macman Kermit. Alright. So you are going to be in control of our satellite mission. And hopefully this will work. I really hope this will work, because if it doesn't work, I'm going to be quite upset. Save and launch. Take 3, I guess? Yeah, 3, because this will be the third one that actually launches. The first couple were just, you know, screwing up a little bit. Alright, Macman. This is your first mission ever, and it is a very vital mission because it will allow us to do better missions later on. 3, 2, 1, launch! Things are going well so far. And as long as we're able to achieve some sort of orbit, we should be able to get these things put into the Kerbal stationary orbit. I think it's 2.8 thousand kilometers. I do not remember. I think it was 2868 in the kilometer range. Yeah, it's gotta be kilometers, because anything bigger would probably put you outside Kerbal's sphere of influence. Increase our thrust on these engines. I might actually not have this. It's possible I need to redesign just a small amount. 10-degree gravity turn. Yeah, it's quite possible that this is not going to get in orbit. I tried having less fuel in the launch stage, and I don't think that's going to work out very well. Because these things probably are not going to get us out of the atmosphere even. The map. As it lags and lags and lags. Yeah, we're already pretty much at our apoapsis, so this is a failure of a mission. We're more hovering right now than we are rising. In fact, our smoke trail is going down. We have failed to get out of the atmosphere. So I'm just going to turn that off. Use that to get us away a little bit. Deploy our chutes. Turn off our SAS. And we will let him get back down to the ground safe and sound, where he can try a modified version of our vessel. He will be safe no matter what. Unless the parachute rips off, in which case he won't be very safe at all. Just don't tell him that. Oh, he's got looking concerned now. I think he heard me. Actually, I do need to kind of increase our speed a little bit. Decrease our speed, that is. We are a little bit heavy. Just waiting and waiting until the parachutes deploy, and then I'll cut away and rejoin you with a modified version of our satellite vessel, which will probably mostly feature more fuel. There went the boosters that I had before. No one cares about those. We're below the parachute speed, so that's good. Alright, so I will meet you back on the launch pad. And we're back with the Comsat Vessel Mark II. I've added more solid boosters and switched a couple of tanks around so that we have only 2 tanks in this stage and 3 in this one. I probably had too much fuel in this stage, honestly. But I don't remember how much fuel it takes to get to a geosynchronous stationary orbit, so I just kind of did what I assumed was right, and possibly is wrong. So, 3, 2, 1, go! We probably don't need to throttle our liquid fuel up at a little bit, and that helped us get on the platform. I think that's good enough. Little tiny amount of gravity turn started. Not a huge amount, just a small amount. We're still thrusting mostly upwards, which is the important part. And start thrusting up our liquid fuel and eject those stages. The Separatrons didn't actually fire at all, it looks like, so it's kind of dead weight. Keep on burning until we are at the higher altitude and can start doing a proper gravity turn. Now, go to the 15-degree mark. There, I forgot to switch over to map view, but it should be fine. Our apoapsis is... Let's actually turn off the grid overlay. Currently 15,000 meters, which isn't great because we're at 14,000. We are accelerating though. We are in the thinner part of the atmosphere, so we're going to get a proper orbit this time around. I have full confidence in that. Yeah, we're getting a much bigger separation of altitude and apoapsis, so it's good. We can now be burning at the 50-degree line. I said 15 degree earlier, and that was actually completely wrong. It was a 70-degree line. Are we gonna get into space? We have to get into space. We don't have any other option. We're actually pretty slow in comparison to what we need to be at for an orbital velocity. No time to think, just start burning. We're actually kind of halfway there, so that's good. I should be burning more along the 45-degree line, actually. These engines are not that powerful. The most important thing is we need to get this thing up higher so we can get a proper orbit. I am doing things kind of messily this time around. I probably should have just went ahead and gone overboard with what we were gonna need. But it's a little late for that now. We're on a course. We actually achieve orbit or not is entirely up to chance by now. Actually, it's probably not up to chance. I don't know what I'm talking about. Just ignore me sometimes. It's probably the best thing to do. 70,000. That is perfect. Just want to get a slight estimation of how long this is actually going to take. Yeah, we actually are currently in the process of burning when we need to burn, so that's good news. So if we hold this bearing, I guess, I don't know what we would call it actually. I don't hold the bearing. It's like nautical terms, isn't it? Bearing down, hard port, something like that. I'm rambling. I don't know what to talk about right now. I just want to get these things into orbit. So we can do unmanned missions that won't be horrible. But then again, even if I want to do unmanned missions, we do need to have the next thing for satellites. Or probes, I guess it would be. Which means we're still going to need to do another manned mission. At the very least, to either Moon or Minmus. I think I'm going to do Minmus, because I haven't gone there yet in the series. So, I suppose the next episode is a Minmus episode. Alright, we have an orbit. 73, 72. Good. So let's go with the apoapsis, and we'll extend that. I know there's a way... Ah, there we go. I want to get you... .8. Let me click it. 6, 8. So that is geostationary height. Or synchronous, or I don't know the difference. I hear both the term geostationary and geosynchronous. To me, they sound like they're the exact same kind of thing. Because when I think geosynchronous, I think you're synchronized with the orbit of what you're orbiting. And when I hear geostationary, I hear... To me that means you are lined up with the exact same spot on an orbit. Like, you aren't moving relative to what you're orbiting. Okay, so we are gonna zoom on ahead. We shouldn't need to use that much fuel for this. 3, 2, 1. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start the burn. I hope that the antenna we have on board actually have a decent enough range. I didn't actually double check that when I was looking at things. Oops. But we do have communication dishes on there, so it should work out fine. Communication dishes have pretty large. Switch over to map view and watch as this thing. Is about where I need it. There we go. That's about perfect. That's almost as good as we're going to get. Let's see. 2869. Not quite right, but it is phenomenally wonderful. So now the only thing we really need to worry about is if we're going to be in a proper alignment for the satellite to have a communication with the command area. If not, we're going to have to go through a couple loops until we are. which could take a little bit of time. So I'm thinking we might not actually have a line of communication to KSC. Set the target for mission control. Close that. And I can't quite activate that one, but we can activate this one for mission control, because there's nothing in the way of it. And let's see, we do have a line of command right here. But as we move on, oh my. We might actually have a problem I have not foreseen. And that is that we do not get enough charge out of these. Let's rotate. That's diminishing the amount of energy we're using. Unfortunately... Darn it! We're not going to be able to do this. Sorry, Macman, but we sent you up into space for absolutely no reason. Because as you see, we are using more energy than we are currently generating with 2 of these solar panels. Yeah, we're using 0.35, and this one isn't quite direct sunlight. It's a little bit less than this one. However, this is using 1.64 charge to maintain the connection. And this is generating at best 1. And the way this is currently designed, we will have only one of these panels pointing at the sun at all times. So I'm going to have to scrap this mission and complain about our lack of better solar panels, and then plan on fixing that for the next episode. I don't know how long this episode's been going on, actually, so... darn it. I thought I was going to be able to do it. I was wrong. So very wrong. This thing handles actually very well with the extra reaction wheels. It turns better than if I have SAS. RCS. Now we're going to have to deactivate you. Which sucks. But I need to start pointing like that. Can I get anything extra out of this mission? Not from that. Let's actually point north. That, so I can see the door. We're going to EVA. Might as well let Macmin do an EVA while we're here. Let him experience space for the first time ever. How do you like it, Macmin? You seem relatively unimpressed. That's kind of sad. But EVA report, I guess we'll keep that data. We'll get 0.1 science for our mission to deploy satellites that has failed miserably. There we go. Get you back on board. It's actually kind of funny because without a link to command, the SAS on this thing turns off. And everything starts to just kind of drift. pretty weird. But kind of cool as well. I suppose that, for me personally, this mission wasn't that big of a loss because I got to experience the effects of having to have a link to command at all times, basically. It's pretty interesting. But we're going to have to add the maneuver to bring our periapsis not that far down. Down to about... $30,000 if I can get that. There we go, that's good enough. So we will re-enter, and I think that for funsies I'm going to end up dropping the satellites that I made just to kind of vent frustration a bit. You know, I've been very irritated at videos lately. Whenever I'm doing a video for the past couple videos by now, I'm guessing. And there's a Terraria one with Skeletron, and the game crashing because I clicked the window and moved it, and having to re-fight him from scratch. And then there's this, and my multiple failures, and I'm not having good luck with games lately. I'm doing horrible. I'm a bad gamer. Let's just get this thing back down. There we go. That's a 29,000. That's actually almost perfect. So, zoom right back to where we came from almost. Actually, we were pretty close to the command center when we were coming back. And turn retrograde-wise. We might as well do some burn retrograde. Because that'll help slow us down, bring us to a better stop. We no longer have a proper orbit because we're going to be coming in. And saying hi to the ground. Or it might be the ocean, I don't know. I can't tell because it's on the dark side of Kerbin. Either way, let's lose those things. I wish I waited just a little bit and came on the bright side. Ooh, that actually looks kind of cool as it's coming in. My failures on this game, though, they just keep continuing. Let's see. Screenshot. Until the atmospheric effects, re-entry effects are done, then we can start burning again. It's completely dark, so I'm very sorry about that. cut the engine, deploy the chutes, and let the satellites fall off for fun. Bye, satellites. And I'm gonna let this thing come in on its own pace. I will rejoin you guys in the next episode. And we'll head to Minmus and gather up some mint-colored ice shavings to bring back to Kerbin and just mope about them not being mint-flavored already. Though I'm sure if they're ice shavings, you could just add some mint flavor. I'm not sure if space ice is edible for a Kerbal, but they can try it. But I hope you guys have enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and fave. I will see you next time. Take care, and goodbye.